What is going on, everybody? Welcome to Good Real Hunting, or if you have listened in to Good Real Hunting, welcome back. I am the BrettMan Stewart, and today I will be ranking the Superman franchise from the worst to the best. And how will this ranking be determined? As kind of a couple of the other rankings that I've done so far for the podcast and the YouTube channel, this is just based on personal opinion. That does not mean that my list is right or my list is wrong. It doesn't mean any of that. It's just my opinion. It's just my list. A little couple of ground rules for my particular ranking that I'm doing for Superman here today is that I'm not going to include Superman's 3 and 4 just because I don't think it's fair to judge or to kind of like rank a movie or movies for this particular just because I have not seen those movies. And I heard Superman 3 was just okay, and I heard Superman 4 was just a complete abomination. So, kind of glad I'm not ranking these, but at the same time, I just wanted to let you all know that I have not seen Superman's 3 and 4, so they will not be included in this particular ranking. And Batman versus Superman Dawn of Justice will also not be included in this one. And the reason I decided for this one not to be included, it's just kind of the fact that I'm just mainly focusing on just Superman alone, while Dawn of Justice kind of focuses on Batman and Superman mostly, with some inclusion of Wonder Woman and all that. I'm just looking at just pretty much solo, mainly all about Superman films within the Superman franchise. So that's what I'm going to do for that. So, got a question for you all. Which Supermans soared high in the sky and which one sank? Let's fly and find out. All right, let's start this franchise ranking for Superman. I'm going to be covering 5 movies here. So, starting off at number 5 is going to be Superman Returns. And this one here, this Superman, this was my first movie I ever saw in the theater when it comes to the character of Superman. Like, I kind of knew about the Superman lore and everything through the animated series, but I've never really saw Superman being displayed on the big screen. And I heard there was a lot of hype to it. And then when I saw it, I remember having a good time with it. I really do. But then when I revisited it, just to kind of cover this particular Superman franchise ranking, I still find it to be okay. The main thing I noticed with this movie, this is pretty much just a love letter to the original Superman from 1978 because they kind of just had like the same kind of vibes to it a little bit. Was it perfectly executed? No, not really. But I still had an enjoyable time with it. Brandon Routh's performance is just okay as Superman, which I kind of got distracted this time around while watching it. It's just because it's funny to me that he is one of the evil ex-boyfriends in Scott Pilgrim versus the World. So I kept on getting distracted with that. Kate Bosworth, I liked her as an actress. Like, I really do. Like, anything she's in, I'm going to enjoy her performance. But for this one, she was just an okay Lois Lane. I really didn't have an issue with it, but I just also felt like that she really didn't do really anything big to stand out on her own. Then, of course, whether you love him or you hate him, Kevin Spacey as Lex Luthor, I really, really enjoyed his performance as Lex Luthor. I thought he had the look down, he had the mannerisms down, and he really just does a great job just displaying everything that Lex Luthor is about in the story of Superman. And of course, it is always good to see Parker Posey in anything. Mainly, my favorite role of hers is from Scream 3. And the third act is this movie was just so entertaining to me. Just everything like leading up to it is just developing a story and just to have a payoff in the third act. And I thought the payoff in the third act was just solid to me. Again, just nothing really that much extraordinary or not trying to, no pun intended, super, but I had a good time with it. But again, the rest of the movie was just okay to me. And that is why Superman Returns is in at my number 5. Coming in at number 4, it's going to be Superman 2. And this is the sequel to the original Superman from 1978. And I thought this was a very solid sequel to the original. It does a really good job following the rules to make a successful sequel, which pretty much just in simple terms for me, it's just double everything that the original did. So we got more action in this, we got more character development, we got better character performances. Well, in some areas, not all areas, and I'll get to that when I talk about the original Superman. Christopher Reeves, Margot Kidder, and Gene Hackman were all great as usual in their roles. As Christopher Reeves is Superman, Margot Kidder is Lois Lane, and Gene Hackman, of course, being Lex Luthor. Terrence Stamp as General Zod, the main villain in this movie, I thought he was good in this one. Like, he just had this whole display of like, man, I wouldn't be trusting this guy. I wouldn't touch him with a 9.5 foot pole. So General Zod and the Grinch have a lot in common with each other. But again, I thought General Zod was very solid in this movie. His two henchmen and all that, I just thought they were okay. But the main thing that really gets me with this movie that I've enjoyed the most, it's just the relationship between Superman and Lois, about how Lois finally figured out Clark Kent's true identity as Superman. It stands out throughout the entire movie, and I thought it was just really good storytelling for what they did. And the third act of this movie to me is very corny, but it's understandable for its time with like all the technological stuff that they have just to display some the fight scenes and all that. It's just, to me, it was very, very corny. But for anyone that saw this, I believe on the top of my head of 1981, truly understand. They just had to do the best with what they got technological wise during that time. Superman 2 still a solid time, but still not the best. Not even really the worst. So it's my number 4. Moving on here, coming in at number 3, I mentioned it earlier, and now I'm going to mention it here. It's going to be the original Superman from 1978. And this is a first time watch for me, not that long ago. And my first thought about this movie is I can understand why this is a superhero classic. Can totally get it. Christopher Reeves was a great Superman. Absolutely. I understand the charm of Christopher Reeves' performance as the Man of Steel. The documentary that came out with Christopher Reeves is just such an emotional gun punch. And so I just have more respect for Christopher Reeves. And I'm glad I saved it for this first time watch for Superman 1978 after I watched the documentary and just getting other people's insights of why this particular movie was such a classic for its time. So I really had a good time watching Superman. I enjoyed the origin story of Superman. I never really got to saw the very first telling of an original origin story of Superman. So I thought all that was really well done and I enjoyed it. And I gotta go ahead and say this. Margot Kidder is the perfect, and I mean perfect, Lois Lane. She and Christopher Reeves had phenomenal chemistry with one another. You can believe every single thing that they did in this movie was genuine. So great acting performance by Margot Kidder and Christopher Reeves when they are on screen together. And Margot, you are the queen of Lois Lane. You will always be my Lois Lane. And of course, we got Gene Hackman playing the dangerous Lex Luthor, and he is fun and entertaining. So I had a really good time with him. So R.I.P. Gene Hackman, man, you are so missed, my friend, and I appreciate everything you have done in your acting career, especially for your first interpretation of the Lex Luthor character on the big screen. So Superman 78, I had a really good time with it, but it is not my best one, so it stays in the middle at my number 3. Alrighty, this is going to be the big topic of discussion. It's been about on social media. Which is going to be a best, movie A or movie B? And we know which movies we're talking about at this point of my franchise ranking. So, what's going to be number 2 and which one's going to be number 1? Let me go ahead and tell you, my number 2 is going to be The Man of Steel. Man, I absolutely love Zack Snyder's approach to Superman, going and making it dark, very dark. A lot just like the dark coloring of the screen, just the dark stories being told, just the dark path that Superman had to take in order to be the Superman he is at the end of the film. Which, speaking of Superman, Henry Cavill, really a great, phenomenal Superman. And I'll even say this is my Superman. I thought he did a phenomenal job. He has a perfect look to him, from the costume to his mannerisms. Everything that Henry Cavill brought to the Superman character, in my opinion, is true perfection and what I perfectly wanted in a Superman character. Amy Adams was a good Lois Lane, just unique in her own way. And I understand this is kind of like a different kind of an alternate universe of a normal Superman movie. Just it's so unique and different. Best way I could kind of compare that is with the original Halloween and Rob Zombie's Halloween with Laurie Strode's character. It's kind of the same here. So Amy Adams still brings a solid performance, a good performance of Lois Lane, but I just don't think that she is still the perfect Lois Lane. But she still kind of brings the same personalities and everything of the Lois Lane character, just different hair color. But again, that's not the biggest issue with me. Russell Crowe was a perfect choice to me as Jor-El. I don't really speak really good Kryptonian, so if I mispronounce something, I very well apologize. But I thought Russell Crowe was a great choice as Corel. Michael Shannon was a perfect choice for General Sod. He definitely just does everything that the Superman 2 General Sod did, and he just times it by two with the performance and the look, the display, the evilism. Everything was just great, and Michael Shannon did a phenomenal job. The action was amazing in the third act as well. I thought everything was great. It was just impactful as Superman had to kill for the first time. Like, just to me, because I haven't watched a lot of things Superman, and the one big thing I've noticed with anything Superman I've watched before Man of Steel is that Superman just has this code that he just doesn't kill. And this was the first time I legitimately saw him kill somebody on the big screen, but he didn't have a choice. It was like between the evil guy or just an innocent kid. So I just thought that was very unique storytelling. And lastly, I got to mention this because any chance I get to mention this individual, I'm always going to take an advantage of it. And that is the Hans Zimmer, with an amazing theme song for the Man of Steel of Superman. And you cannot tell me any different that the Hans is the greatest composer of all time when it comes to making music for movies. So love the Man of Steel. It used to be my number one Superman movie of all time, but of course you could kind of already figure out its place got taken, but I still love this movie. I still love Zack Snyder's attempted approach to the DCU. I wish it could have gone very, very far, but it's just unfortunately some backstage business decisions by WB got in the way of that. So it's just sad that we didn't get to see Zack Snyder's true vision of the dark DCU. So number 2 is going to be Man of Steel. All right, last but not least, and you've already figured it out, my number 1 is going to be Superman from 2025, the latest installment of the Superman franchise. And I know what you are thinking. This is probably recency biasm and all that, or just me just being so overhyped about this movie. But just honestly, there's no overhype with this movie. This movie truly blew me away. And I was not, and I'm just telling you, I was not expecting to love this movie, because when I first saw the first kind of like teaser trailer, I was just like, okay, this movie it looks like it's going to be a solid attempt and everything. And then when I saw the official trailer, I'm like, okay, this movie has a shot, and I'm even more excited to see this in the theater. My theater was packed, and we all had a phenomenal time with this movie. To me, this felt like the most felt like comic book film within Superman. It's like this whole world that James Gunn built for this Superman, for this particular DCU. It's just like it transported me from reality into the comic book world, and I thought it was fairly nicely done. We get a great Superman performance by David Corenswet. Hopefully, I pronounced his name right. Or I just kind of referred him to the guy that got stabbed with a pitchfork in the face by Pearl. And he was the douchebag from Twisters. I'm trying to make some money. So, great performances overall by David for Pearl and Twisters, but he definitely delivers as being a very good Superman. Not my number one Superman, but he is a great Superman, nothing less. Rachel Brosnahan, again, hopefully I say that name right. She was a solid Lois Lane. I didn't really have no problem with her performance. I thought she had a good look to her. She went toe to toe with Superman during that interview scene, and she has some standout moments on her own that she just did a really good job. Again, to me, Margot Kidder is still the queen when it comes to the Lois Lane character and who was the best Lois Lane. The side characters were fun and good. I really enjoyed each and every single one of the side characters. I thought at one point they had their own time to shine to get a memorable moment in the movie. Skylar Giznado, which I know I'm just going to call him Skylar because, again, apologize for me just mispronouncing names here. Skylar as Jimmy Olsen. I'm just going ahead and tell you right now, one of the most perfect cast decisions I've ever seen in cinema. And I probably just shoot myself in the foot here because I'm sure there's highly disagreements that are going to be made of that. I just thought Skylar was just perfect. Like the mannerisms, the look, and just the entirety of the Jimmy Olsen character was perfectly done by Skylar. So Skylar, great job. And of course, I gotta say, when it comes to side characters, Crypto was such a good boy. And that was my main worry about this movie, is just what Crypto was going to do and what's going to be in this movie. I thought he was going to be a bad dog when it comes to a performance and how Crypto was going to be used, but I will be happy to tell you that Crypto was an absolute good boy, and Crypto, that dog, deserves all the treats in the world. Nicholas Hoult, let's go ahead and give to the hidden MVP of this movie. Or you know what? I'm really not going to hide it. He is the MVP of this movie, as Nicholas Hoult was perfection as Lex Luthor. To me, this is the best Lex Luthor performance ever. From the look, mannerisms, and just selling the pure hatred that Lex Luthor has for the Man of Steel, Nicholas Hoult absolutely brought it. And I still find it crazy, which I figured this out like a day before recording this particular podcast episode, that it's just crazy that Nicholas Hoult auditioned for the Man of Steel. Instead of getting Superman, he got Superman's arch rival in Lex Luthor. So I just thought that was really hilarious. But it all worked out because Nicholas Hoult absolutely delivered in this movie as a great Lex Luthor, and I hope he gets to come back at some point in this particular DC universe of the new one that James Gunn. Speaking of James Gunn, we're going to go ahead and mention him. He absolutely did a phenomenal job, and James Gunn has always been kind of a director that knows how to work a whole bunch of characters for all those characters getting single moments and working together on screen too. So James Gunn, you are a freaking genius, sir. And I'm a believer now. James Gunn will absolutely save the DCU in this new solid reboot of the DCU. And this Superman movie is just only the beginning. So just imagine what else James Gunn is going to have up his sleeve. And he has an absolute bright future with a lot of these other movies coming out for the DCU. I am so looking forward to it. I am on board. And Marvel, you better be careful. That's all I'm going to say. And lastly, I'll mention about this movie, and you can read the rest of my true thoughts about this movie on my Letterbox review I have, which I'll promote Letterbox here in a minute. The cinematography and the score were all great at the exact same time. This is the most beautifully shot Superman movie, in my opinion. So, my number one, and I believe in the hype, this movie is the hype. Number one, Superman 2025. All right, that was my Superman ranking. Just to recap again, from the worst to the best of my Superman ranking. Number 5 is Superman Returns. Number 4 is Superman 2. Number 3 is the original Superman from 1978. Number 2, The Man of Steel. And number 1 was Superman of 2025. So let me know, what do you think about my ranking for these Superman movies within the Superman franchise? Did I get it right? Did I get it wrong? So let me know in the comment section down below on YouTube, or if you're listening by podcast, just take some time and leave a 5-star review and a comment of your Superman ranking, or just to make a comment about my Superman ranking. I definitely do try to respond to most of the comments that I possibly can. And thank you again to the podcast listeners listening in, and same thing with YouTube listening to the video. Shout outs on social media. We do have a Facebook group where we discuss all movies and TV shows, mainly in the horror genre. But as you can already tell with this particular podcast episode, I decided to step outside of horror for a minute, because the Man of Steel Superman deserves to have his own podcast episode, and for the exception. But we mainly do talk about horror movies. So if you are a horror movie fanatic, you need to join the Good Will Hunting Facebook group. We also have an Instagram account where you can keep up with all things of Good Will Hunting, from channel updates, stream announcements, and even podcast announcements as well. We are on TikTok, where we do real-time reactions, which is kind of like my out-of-theater reactions. And first, any big horror movie news, we do have a little segment called Real News. As soon as, we haven't really done one yet, but when there's really a time where there's something really to report when it comes to a horror movie, you could expect a real news segment on TikTok. And we just reach over 100 followers. So that TikTok account is slowly growing, and we would love for you to join us on that journey. Of course, you can find us on YouTube here for Good Will Hunting. And please be sure to like, share, and subscribe this particular episode, and to all of our other videos that we have in live streams, because as it will help defeat the evil algorithm that is called YouTube. Or if you're not listening on podcasts, we definitely have podcasting. We are available on Apple Pod, Spotify, and Podbean. And I mentioned this earlier, and this is going to be a new thing I will give out for social media announcements, is Letterbox. I thought about doing reviews for the podcast, but I just have more of a comfortability just to do rankings versus just reviews. So I feel like I'm better on reviews when I write it down. So my Letterbox account is going to be for written reviews when I get out of the theater or watch something for the first time in the theater. And my Letterbox profile is BrettMan865. So that is where you can go ahead and follow me. I do everything I can to follow other people back that follow me. And of course, I gotta thank our Patreons and YouTube members. Thank you all so much for being the backbone of this channel and for this podcast. Every single one of you is super appreciated. And if you want to join along and be a real hunter, a Patreon, or a YouTube member, those links are going to be in the description down below. Click the link, select any tier. Anything is great for this channel and podcast. What is going to be coming up on the next episode? It is going to be a I Know What You Did Last Summer ranking. As soon as I see the brand new I Know What You Did Last Summer, I will be ranking the 4 movies within that franchise, which that's crazy to think that I Know What You Did Last Summer is now officially a franchise. So we'll see how that ranking goes. I'm sure it's going to be very, very interesting. So until next time, keep hunting for the good reels and have a great day.